From 1947 to 1991, the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a stalemate. Both had nuclear bombs, both had superpower ambitions, and both knew that pressing the big red button would mean the end of humanity. Most people remember the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. We're taught it in school, and this was the closest we ever came to nuclear war. But what many forget is that in 1983, the world came dangerously close to destruction again. That year, NATO launched a military exercise called Able Archer. What it was meant to be was to simulate a war scenario, but Moscow didn't see it that way. The Soviet leadership, paranoid and on the edge, they mistook the drill for the beginning of a real nuclear attack. Believing that the US was preparing to strike first, the Kremlin readied its own nuclear arsenal for a launch. The world was on the brink of annihilation until one man's intelligence changed everything. Oleg Gordievsky, a high-ranking KGB officer secretly working for British intelligence, warned the West that the Soviets weren't bluffing. They were really preparing for nuclear Armageddon, but because of his intelligence, NATO de-escalated, and the world stepped back from the edge once more. This moment proved a powerful truth. Control over information can be just as powerful as control over weapons. And that's exactly why today we may be entering a new Cold War. But this time it's not about nuclear bombs, it's about AGI, artificial general intelligence. So just as nuclear weapons defined the original Cold War, AGI is going to define the battleground for the new US-China Cold War. The nation that develops AGI first is going to hold unprecedented power, economic power, military power, and political power. The AGI race has begun.
We're already seeing AI being used on the battlefield.
Artificial intelligence is extremely powerful.
Pretty much in every single decision made in war.
Whoever leads an AI will rule the world.
It's truly the beginning of a Cold War.
So while I'd love to cover every angle of this new Cold War, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on its full political complexity. But as someone who has built multiple businesses, I do understand the business landscape. So in this video, I'll focus on how this geopolitical shift is going to impact the world of business, and more importantly, how you can find success in times like these. To understand the future, we need to look at the past, specifically at the Russian man who saved us from nuclear war, Gordievsky. Gordievsky's work as a double agent helped prevent war, but it also made him a marked man. Russia realized the West knew way too much. There had to be a spy. So they ordered him back to Moscow, where he was interrogated and placed under surveillance. So Oleg Gordievsky knew his execution was inevitable. And so he activated a daring MI6 escape plan known as Operation Pimlico. Under constant surveillance, he managed to slip out of Moscow undetected and made his way toward the Finnish border, where he hid in the trunk of a British diplomat's car. As Soviet border guards meticulously searched vehicles, any mistake meant certain death. But against all odds, the plan worked. The car cleared the checkpoint and double agent Gordievsky was free. Once back in Britain, Gordievsky provided further intelligence that weakened Soviet influence and exposed deep flaws in the KGB. His insights are the reason Western leaders understood the fragility of the Soviet Union, accelerating its eventual collapse in 1991. Although we view the Cold War as a fight over nukes, it was actually a fight over information, a battle to know as much as possible about the enemy. If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. But unlike the Cold War of the past, we don't really need spies or double agents to gather intelligence anymore. Instead, the new double agent, the spy of our day, are companies like TikTok. Like any social media platform, TikTok collects user data, but its data collection goes way beyond what's necessary for any simple video sharing app. Personal information is one thing, but device information, location, data, even your browsing history? What's even crazier is that TikTok stores keystroke patterns. That means it could be tracking common words you type, like usernames and passwords. While many apps gather user data, the key difference is where that data goes. If you guys watched the previous video, Google knows a lot more about me, probably knows me better than I know myself. But the difference with TikTok is that it's a Chinese company. They are legally required to share their data with the CCP. China's national security law requires all Chinese companies, including ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, to cooperate with the government and provide data when requested. So even if TikTok claims it operates independently, the Chinese Communist Party has the legal power to access its data at any time. This means any user data collected, whether it's from the US, Europe, or anywhere else, could at any time be handed over to the Chinese government. So what does that mean? Well, imagine an American government official has TikTok on their phone, and they use this phone for government work. China now has access to certain pieces of data. What specifically? Well, that depends on the security awareness of that individual. But if you've ever watched congressional hearings with tech company CEOs, let's just say they don't exactly inspire confidence in their technical expertise.
Does Google know through this phone that I am moving over there and sitting next to Mr. Johnson? It's yes or no.
I won't be able to answer without looking at...
You can't say yes or no.
Without knowing more details.
So beyond just data collection of government officials, TikTok could also be used as a propaganda tool. The app's algorithm controls what content gets promoted and what gets suppressed, meaning it could amplify pro-China narratives while downplaying the criticism of the Chinese government. Or it could censor content on topics like Hong Kong protests, Taiwan, or human rights abuses. It could even influence elections and public sentiment by boosting or suppressing political content. The original Cold War was fought through spies, propaganda, and intelligence gathering. Men like Gordievsky lived in constant fear of being caught. Today, TikTok serves as a modern sleeper agent. It's silently collecting data, influencing people, and it's all while disguising itself as an entertainment app, basically functioning as all three. This is why the US government has moved to ban TikTok from government devices, and it's considering a nationwide ban. Because in a new Cold War, controlling and distributing information is just as powerful as controlling weapons. And the US doesn't want to give China an inch. AI and AGI need data. Just like humans, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, you can't make reasonable decisions without data and information. Gordievsky's intelligence allowed the West to exploit Soviet economic inefficiencies, leading to sanctions and strategic financial pressure that weakened the USSR. TikTok can be used to do the same thing, to manipulate public opinion, influence elections, and shape cultural narratives, creating division and instability with the data it gathers. Now imagine China has AGI, and it has access to TikTok's data and algorithms. The power China would have is insane. It may sound a little ridiculous, but when you consider that a third of the US population has a TikTok account, you realize that China is in 100 million Americans' pockets. And they can show these 100 million people whatever they want, whenever they want. While TikTok has been the most obvious example of China's data collection strategy, DeepSeek is just another version in a different body, a digital sleeper agent disguised as an AI chatbot. Just like TikTok, it's there, quietly absorbing user data, refining its models, and it's able to feed all this intelligence back to its creators in China. The US can try to ban it, just like TikTok, but blocking apps alone isn't going to stop China from pushing forward in the AI race. Because here's the reality. Americans, or more specifically American businesses, are going to use anything that gives them an edge. If a Chinese chatbot is the best, guess what we're going to do? Use it, regardless of the national implications. So what should the American government do? If history has shown us anything, limitations don't stop innovation, they accelerate it. China, now blocked from accessing advanced NVIDIA chips and cutting-edge semiconductor technology, has been forced to find ways to do more with less, and it's working. Think about the old video game consoles. As hardware aged, developers found incredible ways to optimize performance. They figured out how to squeeze more power out of outdated technology than anyone thought possible. China's doing the exact same thing with AI. They may have worse chips, but they're learning to optimize efficiency, maximizing computing power, and are able to push forward with hardware that shouldn't be able to compete. Yet somehow it is. Banning Chinese apps and restricting chip imports, it buys the US a little bit of time. But what it doesn't guarantee is victory. The only way for the US to stay ahead in the AI arms race isn't by slowing China down, it's by moving faster. Instead of relying on export bans, we have to innovate past them. Instead of focusing on keeping China behind, we have to focus on pushing AGI forward. The Cold War wasn't won simply by limiting Soviet access to technology. It was won by out-innovating them in every turn. And it's because of innovation that the Soviet Union finally fell. One of my favorite stories from the Cold War illustrates this perfectly. In 1989, Boris Yeltsin, a high-ranking Russian politician and future Russian president, visited the US. While he was here, he walked into a Randall's supermarket in Texas, and what he saw shocked him. Aisles were overflowing with food. Endless choices, no shortages. Yeltsin had spent his entire life believing the Soviet system was superior in every way. But standing in that American supermarket, surrounded by fully stocked shelves and more options than he could have ever imagined, he saw the truth. It was all a lie. If the Soviet people witnessed this abundance, he thought, they would revolt. And 2 years later, they did. The Soviet Union collapsed, not from war, but because it couldn't compete with capitalism. The free market drives innovation, it rewards efficiency, and it's constantly pushing forward. Meaning, centralized control leads to stagnation, shortages, and failure. The new Cold War isn't going to be any different. AGI is the finish line, and only innovation is going to win. Not government bans, but the raw power of competition. And here's the funny part. Popsicle options were what truly stunned Yeltsin. It's an entire aisle filled with choices. Choices that even the Soviet elites couldn't dream of. It wasn't just food, it was proof that capitalism breeds abundance, while central planning breeds scarcity. If that applies to something as small as a popsicle, imagine what it means to the future of artificial intelligence. The lesson is clear. The nation that fosters entrepreneurship, competition, and relentless innovation is going to dominate the AGI race. Just like capitalism buried the Soviet Union, it is going to decide who leads the future. So I believe there are 3 industries that are going to need to ramp up in the US to lead an AGI dominance. Starting with number 1, data. Now, AGI isn't magic, as so many people think, but it's built on data, it's context. Just like a human needs experiences and education to become more intelligent, AI needs massive amounts of high-quality training data to improve. Right now, the companies with the best data pipelines will build the most powerful AI models. So here are the opportunities I see for businesses to succeed in data and AI. Specialized data curation. Startups that collect clean, structured, high-quality data sets for AI training are going to be in extremely high demand. The second is industry-specific data platforms. AI has to have domain-specific data to be effective. Think healthcare, finance, education. Businesses that can own and control niche data sets are going to have incredible advantages. It's exactly what I'm doing with my current company, Chief. The third is synthetic data generation. So companies that can scale realistic AI-generated data for training models will scale AI faster. The CEO of Scale AI, the youngest billionaire in America, is successful for this specific reason. The second industry that needs to ramp up is energy. People often overlook this, but AGI is going to require insane amounts of energy. Training AI models like GPT-4, Gemini, or DeepSeek costs incredible amount of capital in electricity alone, and that's just today's AI. As AI models get more complex, computational power is going to skyrocket. And what that means is one thing: we need more energy infrastructure. So I see the following opportunities for businesses to succeed in energy. AI-optimized data centers. The companies that build efficient, high-density computing centers are going to be the foundation of AGI. This is why China's looking so good right now. They can do way more with far less. The second is renewable energy for AI. As energy demand explodes, AI companies are going to be looking for the cheapest and cleanest energy sources. Solar, nuclear, and battery storage innovations are going to be massive. And the third is cooling and efficiency solutions. Running these massive AI computers requires a ton of heat management. And any company that can reduce cooling costs and improve energy efficiency in AI computing is going to be indispensable. And the last energy that needs to ramp up is chip manufacturing. The semiconductor war isn't just a trade dispute, it's about who controls the intelligence of the future. So I see the following opportunities for businesses to succeed in the chip industry. First, new chip fabrication plants, or fabs. The US is investing billions into domestic chip production. Startups supporting materials, logistics, and automation are going to be critical. I'm huge on this opportunity, specifically because I live in Arizona and I'm seeing the extraordinary business growth in this area. The second is AI-specific chips. General purpose chips won't cut it for AGI. So companies designing AI-optimized processors like NVIDIA's H100 are going to control how fast AGI develops. And getting even more granular chips made specifically for unique AI tasks are going to be in extremely high demand. Third is supply chain and rare materials. Advanced chips require rare earth metals and specialized manufacturing processes. Businesses that secure supply chains for these materials are going to hold a strategic advantage. Just think about the supply chain logistics. There are so many opportunities for companies to find a niche. From excavating raw materials to the creation of these chips, if AGI is the new arms race, then chips are the nuclear warhead. Energy is, well, energy, and data is intelligence. Whoever leads in these categories will build the best AGI and win the new Cold War. And this isn't just about winning an AI race, it's about shaping the future of global power. And the only way to win is to lead. So the time to build is now. So get building, and until next time, good luck.